There is a tale the ocean keeps quiet, told only in the language of bone and current, of a serpent so vast that the sea itself seemed to bend around it. To find it, you must first look for its shadow, the creature living in our waters today that still carries its ancient blood. In the warm shallows where the Indian Ocean meets the Pacific, a golden serpent moves without hurry through the coral light. It is called the yellow sea snake, and though few have heard its name, it is by every measure we know the longest venomous serpent the modern sea has ever produced, stretching in its greatest specimens to nearly 10 feet, its body ringed in fading black bands like the rungs of some drowned ladder. It does not swim so much as it flows, its tail flattened into a paddle shaped by millions of years of patient refinement, built for a life that never truly touches land. It rises for air in unhurried intervals, a small breath taken at the border between two worlds, then descends again into the blue. Beneath its beauty lies a quiet menace, fangs short but efficient, venom measured and precise, enough to still a fish twice its length before it has time to understand what has happened to it. Watching it hunt is to watch patience made lethal. And yet, for all its grace, the yellow sea snake is only an echo, a memory swimming. Because long before there were coral reefs shaped as we know them, before whales had learned to be whales, there was a shallow, sun-warmed sea stretching across what is now the Sahara, a place scientists call the Trans-Saharan Seaway, though 60 million years ago it had no name at all, only water, hunger, and warmth. In that ancient sea lived something that makes the modern serpent look like a footnote. Its name, when at last it was given one, was Paleophis colossius, the colossal ancient serpent, and the bones it left behind, mere fragments of vertebrae scattered in African rock, suggested a creature that may have stretched 26 feet, perhaps as long as 40, long enough, some have said, to rival a city bus, long enough that its shadow alone would have been a warning. We do not know the color of its scales, or the sound it made moving through water, if it made any sound at all. The fossil record rarely offers such mercy. But we know the shape of its vertebrae, and vertebrae do not lie. A spine of that size could only have belonged to a predator built for enormous prey, not small reef fish, but the largest animals the ancient ocean had to offer. Scientists studying its remains have suggested it could have taken early whales, the first clumsy ancestors of the giants we know today, still finding their way into the water. It may have hunted sharks. It may have had little reason to fear anything at all.
Picture it, if you can bear to, a warm green sea, sunlight fractured into shafts by the moving water above. Somewhere below, a disturbance in the silt, too large to be a current, too deliberate to be chance. And then, rising, a head the size of a small boat, ancient eyes catching the fractured light, a body uncoiling behind it that seems to have no end. There would have been a moment, brief and absolute, when whatever swam near it understood, too late, exactly what shared the water with them. It ruled that sea for millions of years. It had, as far as we can tell, no equal. And then the world changed, as worlds do. The seaway that had cradled it began to recede. The warmth that fed its enormous cold-blooded body cooled by degrees too slow to notice and too vast to reverse. A creature built for abundance found itself, slowly, in a world with less and less to give it. We do not know its final years. We do not know if there was a single last serpent, alone in a shrinking sea, or a slow fading of many, generation by generation, until the bones simply stopped appearing in the rock. What we know is silence, the particular silence of extinction, which arrives not with a scream, but with an absence no one is left to notice. For tens of millions of years that silence held. The bones settled deeper into the stone. The sea that once carried a monster became desert, became fossil, became a question waiting to be asked. Then, not so very long ago, someone asked it. A fragment of vertebra pulled from ancient rock, larger than it had any right to be. A puzzle laid out on a table, pieced together by people who had never seen the creature and never would, working backward from bone to shape, from shape to size, from size to a kind of reluctant awe. This is how the dead speak to us, not in words, but in architecture. The serpent could not tell its own story. Its skeleton told it for them. And here is the strange, quiet comfort in all of it. The story does not end in that fossil bed, because somewhere in the tangled branches of time, something small and golden-scaled carried a piece of that ancient lineage forward, through the retreating seas, through the ages when the world forgot what had once ruled its shallow waters, into the coral reefs of today. The yellow sea snake gliding through warm modern water is not the giant. It will never be the giant, but it is kin to it in the way a whisper is kin to a shout. When it rises to breathe at the surface, pauses and looks out at the light, it does so with the same ancient patience, the same unhurried certainty that once belonged to something 40 feet long and utterly without fear. The ocean does not remember the way we do. It has no monuments, no names carved into stone. It only keeps what settles into its sediment, waiting, sometimes for 60 million years, for someone curious enough to dig. Somewhere below the surface tonight, a small golden serpent moves through warm water, carrying, without knowing it, the last living thread of something that once made the whole sea afraid.